Alright, we should be live now.
Oh, okay.
Rolling in.
Yeah, rolling in. I'll just get a new save file ready then.
Yep, so you can pretty much start whenever. Pretty excited about this game. I have never seen it before.
Yeah. It looks interesting at least. Also, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Alright. Think y'all could have guessed what name I'd be going for.
Data face.
Yep. Right, so 3, 2, 1, go. So this is Lucah, Born of a Dream. Neutral ending on easy difficulty. It's a game released like 2 years ago. It's a top-down character action game, so that means there's gonna be a lot of fighting. So in this game you have two different types of attacks: the fast light attack and then the slower but usually more powerful heavy attack. But for most of this run we'll only be using the light attacks. Attacks of course cost you stamina, which is the light blue bar in the top left corner. And we also have this dash move, which allows us to dodge enemies and run fast, basically. There's also some invincibility frames at the start of the dash, so that's our defensive option. We also get this familiar attack right here. This familiar that shoots bullets, basically. And those bullets cost charge, which is the purple bar, and you regain your charge by hitting enemies with just your regular attacks. So there's different weapons in this game called mantras. Just picked another one up right there. You can differentiate between them by their color, and right now we have the strong Duna mantra and then also the basically useless green arrow mantra. So we won't be seeing any arrow throughout this run. And as the run goes along, we'll be picking up different mantras and familiars in order to stay powerful enough to basically kill everything. Not quite in one shot, but very quickly all the same. So this boss, it's faster to let him kill us, unfortunately. The other bosses will be a lot more interesting, but for this first one we can just die, I guess. Okay, so as I mentioned at the start of this run, we play a speedrun on the easy difficulty, which means that the enemies don't deal a lot of damage to me, but they don't take much damage themselves before they die, and obviously that's just faster, but it also means that I can play more aggressively, which is a lot more fun in my opinion. Okay, so in this game you level up at these campsites, and there's a random selection of attributes that you can level up. I'm mostly interested in the dark blue one, which is power. But we'll be getting a mix of level ups throughout the run. So we just picked up a new familiar, Impulse, and Impulse is very strong, as you can see. It's a short-range shotgun blast, so that means that sometimes the familiar will just miss the enemy, which is no thank you. It's a bit unfortunate when it happens, but nothing much I can do about it. So we have two different items in this game, which are at the bottom left of the screen. We have a standard health potion, which just heals me to full, but I also have a rewind item, which allows me to start over a fight whenever things go poorly. So it's not always very useful, but for certain bosses it's better for me to try the first hit again, because some bosses just get out of hand if you don't kill them quickly. So there's also a parry in this game where you just dash into an enemy, which took a while to attack. And that explosion, that's a hold action, and that's basically our powerful finisher attack, which we'll mainly use in the early game to just finish off the tankier enemies. So for the first real boss fight, there's two of them unfortunately, so I have to parry them both, so depending on their patterns this may not go well. Fortunately I didn't get the kill on the first one, so I have to just wait it out again. Oops. There we go. Still went fine overall. So this boss drops our first new mantra. It's called Enema, and just have to. Blah. Shoutouts to menuing with a joystick. Yeah, Enema. It's much more useful than arrow anyway, and every mantra in this game has a small passive bonus, and the bonus for Enema is that it increases my attack speed a bit. So right now on this this set of mantras, or paradigm as you call it, I have the Enema mantra equipped on the heavy attack slot. So even though I won't be using the heavy attack, I'll still get the passive bonus of getting some additional attack speed. Right, so we have to die again, sadly, and nothing else scary happens, I promise. So on my different paradigm, I have Enema equipped, and the attacks for Enema are they're quite fast, but they don't do as much damage as Luna does. So I won't really be using it that much, but occasionally for finishing off enemies, it's a bit more useful. Oops. Not going as planned, but that's whatever. So there are also more small bonuses in this game that you can equip called virtues. And at this campfire I'll hopefully be able to get another one, which is quite useful for the rest of the run. Let's see. There we go. So right now I'll have 3 virtues equipped. The first is called Unstoppable, which allows us to survive a attack with 1 HP. I also have Enraged equipped, which increases my damage just after I did a parry or a dodge, or dodge for an attack specifically. And the one I just picked up at the campfire is called Adaptive. And Adaptive is very important because it allows me to refund some stamina if I switch weapons right after I did an attack. So whenever you see me with a green glow around me, like this, you'll know that I just hit the timing for Adaptive. And that's really going to be the key for the bigger groups of enemies. So you'll see me using the Enema hold action over the one from Luna, and that's because the hold action for Enema does not cost as much charge, and throughout this early game it's quite important that I manage my charge correctly, because as you can see my familiar attack is very strong, so I want to be able to keep using it. Applied it. Nice. That enemy can bring up its shield, but if you attack it early enough, it won't get get a chance for it, I guess. So one thing that I haven't really explained is the break mechanic. So whenever you do a big chunk of damage on an enemy, it will get stunned like this, and while it's broken, it will also take a lot of extra damage. So the routing for all the individual fights in this game is basically make sure that I can that I have enough stamina and charge for a break, and then get a quick finishing blow on them. Okay, my power is a little low, but should still be fine. Okay, so this boss coming up next is quite rough usually, because one of its attacks allows it to teleport around the arena, which costs like 5 to 10 seconds for me, so I don't want that. First attack is the one that I can always parry, so it's quite a precise fight for me to try and kill it before it gets a chance to teleport. I'm still a little bit worried because I don't quite have my power isn't quite as high as I want it to be, but hopefully things will still be fine. Right. Need to focus a bit for this fight. There we go, that's what I want to see. Going to just quickly grab this power up and then leave. There's another boss right after this, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, it's better to kill this boss with a regular break rather than a parry. Which something I definitely found out by messing up the parry rather than some actual research, so that was a fun discovery. Still back up? Nope. I'll have to do this fight regular again. There we go. So, the thing about damage in this game is that it's not very consistent. Attacks don't do a determined amount of damage, it's always a range. And the amount of hits that you get with the impulse familiar is also random, so that strat that I did right there usually works, but sometimes you just get bad luck and don't do enough damage to get the break. Just grabbing this checkpoint real quick. In this game you can return to your last checkpoint from the pause menu, and when you do that you get to keep all your key items. So normally in this area I would just get 2 key items and then walk back. With your checkpoint I saved like a couple of seconds walking. So we have that was a optional mantra that I pick up right there, and it's one called Thanatos, and it's going to be our main damage dealer for the rest of the run. I don't know what our level up this time, but it's fine, I guess. Oh yeah, real quick important, I have to remember this code 337. Only for a very short time, but still. Okay. Oops, 337. Okay, good. But yeah, Thanatos is used for the rest of the run because not only is the passive effect that it increases your damage, but it also just has a very strong hitbox in general. Oh yeah, one thing that I haven't really mentioned yet is that our different attacks for when you dash and when you stand still, and the dashing attacks for Thanatos at least is much stronger than the one that you get while standing, but it also costs a lot more stamina, so that's also why getting adaptive is so important for the speedrun. It really allows you to use all the riskiest moves, which are also the strongest. Oops, there we go. So, in this run, the time losses mostly come from fights just not going quite as well as you want them to. So, it's usually just 1 second mistakes that just keep piling up. And again, usually you don't always get to. It's not always your fault when you lose time like that, because the way damage works in this game. Yeah, that area went pretty well. Okay, so right here, if I walk too quickly, I crash the game. So I'll take it slow, I guess. Yeah, if you hit that loading zone before the scene fades in, you'll crash the game, and it's quite a ways away from the previous checkpoint as well. So. Okay, so this arena is for an optional virtue again, and because this area is so long, I sometimes just stop doing anything, and that's because for these longer fights, just using adaptive is not enough stamina regen to make it through the entire thing, so sometimes you just have to walk around and there it is. Just walk around and recharge the natural way. That went fine though. Yo, game in. Oops.
Game in.
Okay, so that virtue hated. It's allows me to deal more damage, but it causes me to take a lot more damage as well. So I need it to still 1 and 2 shot everything in the game, but from this point on, it's also going to be scary when I get hit. So in this arena, I'm created for my performance in the fight, because I have to entertain the cardinal here, and that's why I had to go for the parry in that first fight. For the other 2 fights, you can just get an S rank by going fast. Just the time bonus is enough, but at the start, I have to do it like that. So remember hold actions. This one for Thanatos is quite strong, but it's also kind of slow. You have to wait around for a while after you do it. So usually I only use it if I can either get 2 enemies with it at once, or if I'm guaranteed to win the fight with it. Okay, don't attack me. Oops. Okay, so right there I did not switch my mantras fast enough, which just happens sometimes. It's a very small window with attacks as fast as that. Missed the parry, sadly. I want to parry these enemies because they're so aggressive, so usually it's best to rush the enemies down, because then you can just kill them before they would even get an attack off normally, but these pricks, if they're behaving at least, they're so aggressive that it's just better to immediately try for a parry anyway. Okay, so for this boss right here, it's quite a doozy usually. Her hitbox is very small, so she's very difficult to parry, and even if you don't get a parry and just go for regular break, she tends to escape from the break really quickly, which is not what I want. Come on, attack it. Please. As much of a mess as I was fearing, but we made it out okay, so that's really what matters for this boss. Okay, so there's a shop here, and we're going to buy a new mantra and also a familiar, which I only get as backup. Oh, won't equip the familiar quite yet, but the mantra is it's called Erebos, and the passive effect is that it increases our damage against enemies that are broken or buried, which, if you couldn't tell by now, is the way we do things in the speedrun. Reminder to
Is
stay
this the Eiffel Tower in the
hydrated.
background?
It's a radio tower to be exact.
Oh, okay.
Gonna have to climb the thing right at the end. Pretty fun area. But, this boss will just be a complete blowout. Got him. So one thing that I haven't talked about is the percentage counter right here in the top right of the screen as well. When that counter reaches 100%, you get the corruption ending, which is not what we want, but we go so fast the percentage won't come into play. So the enemies in this area, they tend to be quite resistant to breaking, so instead of my usual approach of just dash attack plus familiar, I'll be using a regular combo for this. So what I'm looking for is, in particular, is the fourth heavy attack of the Erebos mantra that I have equipped right now. And to do that, I'll use 3 quick anima attacks first, and then with a very precise switch I can get the attack that I want. There we go. In order for the combo to connect properly when switching weapons, I have to switch during the startup frames of an attack. And since the attack of Anima is so quick, it's hitting that switch isn't free. But it went quite well here for me. What a prick. It's quite annoying sometimes enemies just ice skate away from me. Pretty good area though. So I just did a fight skip right there. The trigger to spawn the barriers is a bit further into the arena, so if I just hug the wall like that, I don't have to do the fight. Really happy with my power right now. Please behave. Thank you. An enemy can really ruin my day sometimes, but I think I finally have it down. So this boss fight coming right up, it's one of the few places where I would use my rewound if I mess up the parry. The boss has a ton of health, so killing it with a parry is really your only option. And if you miss the attack that you can parry, it will do an attack that's very difficult to avoid. So I'd rather not deal with that and just try again if I mess up. Oh, it's not set quite yet. Please. There we go. Thankfully, whenever you parry a boss, it will do its first attack again rather than what it's normally has planned next. Bit sloppy, but rest of the run has been going fine. But thankfully these versions are a lot weaker than the earlier ones, so I can just use my regular combo. So right here, even though I can't parry this fist attack, I'll still dodge through it to activate my enraged virtue. Yeah, that's it's the amazing power in this game to splice the run live as it's happening. Not too much time lost though. I can escape this screen at 146. Let's see how it goes. Not quite. Sad. So here's two more enemies which will hopefully get hit by my hold action. Okay. One of the two is fine, honestly. Whenever I try to strat out like that, I have to rely on their walking patterns of the enemies. The direction they're still in is completely random to my knowledge, so if they walk away from me, I'll just descend like that. Nothing much I can do. Still went fine otherwise, though. Had to kill myself, I guess. Don't know what that is. The story in this game is vague on purpose, so even though I'm not explaining anything about it, it's not that you're not missing anything, but I don't really understand it either. So this area, Lethean, it's the hardest part of the run for sure. The enemies are quite aggressive and do a ton of damage at this point. There we go. And to make it even worse, the enemies here all have multi-hit attacks, which do the same amount of damage as the single attacks, but multiple times. It's all scary stuff at this point. So, change around my equipment a bit. I have a Thanatos light attack with the anima in the heavy slot for extra speed here, with you can recognize by the impulse familiar. And on the other slot I have Erebos as my heavy attack and the heal familiar, which I bought at the shop earlier. And the heal familiar does as you expect of it, just at the cost of all your charge, it fully heals you. Which I don't want to use that often, because I need the charge for my burst familiar to get the breaks, but it's still better to be safe in this area in particular. Just to bait out that attack. Come on, attack me. Thank you. So that's the hardest one part done. Luckily, it's quite a ways back from the last checkpoint, so dying there is quite a hefty time loss. Okay, so at 16 power right now. I want to be 17 at the end for the final boss attack here. Because of 17 power, my strength almost becomes consistent. Like, it still won't be 100% consistent because that's just the way how damage works in this game, but it's still more than satisfactory usually. Okay, so this area is done, just this boss, and we're going to use or learn a new ability here. It's the transform. So that boss goes down nice and quick. Transformation, it causes me to do a ton more damage, and it increases my attack range and my attack speed. It also reduces my stamina cost by a lot as well. And the downside is that it increases the rate at which the corruption percentage in the top right rather increases. But as you might have noticed already, that's not really a concern for me in the speedrun. So we're in the radio tower, or the Eiffel Tower that we saw earlier. Yeah, this is going to look quite a bit different, these strats, because transformation really is that strong. There's still a lot of nuance in it for me, just to make sure that I optimize my damage. Particularly in nice. That typical is not guaranteed, by the way, so always nice when I get it. But yeah, there's a lot of nuance for me, especially in the keeping track of my combos, because certain attacks in the combo tree, I guess, will one-shot rather than two-shot certain enemies. Nice insta-kill there. Fun strat to do always. Whoops. Missed my transformation there. Okay, 2 last enemies for this area. There we go, went pretty well. And we're already getting close to the end. There's just 2 more bosses left, and both the bosses have 3 phases. But for this first boss, I'm going to try a skip, I guess, for the 3rd phase. So what I want to do is, when I kill the 2nd phase and my hitbox is still active and touching the boss, it will also immediately kill the 3rd phase. It does require a bit of precision on my end, so gotta focus on this for a bit. Oh, also we learn a taunt move, which when an enemy is taunted, it takes more damage, but it also deals more damage and it attacks faster. So here we go. Oops. Still in the right position, I hope. There we go, that's the phase skip. Saves like 5 to 10 seconds because the boss is supposed to be invincible at the start of the phase. But this time it just went down immediately. Okay, we lose a transform, but the taunt will cause us to do enough damage, and also change a virtual around, and now I equip a virtual called Repellent, which allows me to reflect back projectiles, and that counts as a parry. Okay. Second phase by far the hardest. I'll rewind if I have to. And these extra enemies can get in the way quite a bit. Uh-oh. Ooh, okay. Did not quite get the one shot. And the barrier. There we go. Time is when the boss explodes. And time.
Yo, nice run.
Thanks. Really happy with that. Got a lot of 35s and a 36 during my practice, so glad it went this well.
Yeah, like, isn't your PB like a 33 something?
33-22, yes.
Yeah, very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, that's Lucah, Born of a Dream. It's a really fun game to play yourself as well. If you like the aesthetic, it's also the gameplay that's really great about this game. And,
Yeah, this reminded me a lot of like action RPG-esque type game, like maybe Secret of Mana or something.
Yeah, this game is more of a combat focus, I think, than
Yeah.
exploration. Yeah, before I roll out, I just want to give a very special shout out to Winky the Frog.
Shoutouts to Winky.
Him Ribbit.
Him Ribbit. I also really like the aesthetics of this game, first and foremost.
Yeah, that was what caught my eye. So
yeah, I'm sure. Is this game like so? Is this game available on Steam?
Yes, it's on Steam, itch.io, and then I also think it's on Switch and PlayStation 4.
Alright, awesome. Yeah, I might check it out and play it myself because yeah, this looks really interesting.
Yeah, very much recommend it.
But yeah, thank you again for doing this run. I really appreciate it.
No problem, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of V0oidathon, I guess.
Yep.